Yeah, you know what time it is. Crack open that bottle of wine. Grab your favorite glass, pour a couple of fingers of scotch in it. Get that stick, light it, and blow. It's time to hang with Steel Sharpened Steel after dark.
You know, we did it just for you, Anthony. we got the Steel Sharpened Steel after darkage with the return of John Stevens. Ah! What's up? I'm Tom Cunningham.
I'm Joy Stevens.
I'm Jermaine Taylor.
And this is Steel Sharpens Steel. The Joy Stevens just got back from Africa edition.
Right. So Joy is blacker than she ever been in her life edition.
So you go right on head, Joy. Kick it off. The good vibes. Take us on the African adventure.
Whew. Okay, so I've heard for years at this point from other friends who have gone to the continent, it's either South Africa or Ghana or Nigeria, what have you, and said, you got to go. You got to see it. And now I understand. And thank you very much, Anthony. Yes, Aquarius in the house. And matter of fact, this was essentially a birthday trip for me because I turned 51 as I landed in Accra on February 7th. And it was awesome. I'm going to try to tell you how great it was, but there's certain things where you just got to experience it for yourself. And then there's a couple of things that we were in the moment. We didn't record it or tape it or anything. Or if I do have a recording, that's mine. And y'all need to get your own. Okay. But Ghana, y'all. Okay. So the trip was, we flew to Ghana into Accra. We stayed there a couple of days. We drove across the border to Togo. Stayed there only overnight. Drove across the next border because Togo is only about 25 miles long. Drove through the next border into Benin. And then spent, I think, 3 days in Benin and then went straight back to Ghana and did another 2 days in Ghana and we came home. So it was a 10-day trip total. When I tell you, I have never felt so much like I belonged. And what I mean by that is, you know, we have this misunderstanding, and we're gonna get into Ghana versus Nigeria in a minute in the Jollof Wars, but we have this misunderstanding of how the continent of Africa views African Americans. Sometimes we get it from other people, from third parties, like, you know, Jamaicans, Haitians, other people in the Caribbean, and be like, y'all not really African. We're African, but y'all not really African. All of that's a lie. The people in Ghana were like, we miss you. You are family. And what really stuck with me is we did this tour of one of the bigger slave fortresses, or fortresses that turned into a slave dungeon, that point of no return in Ghana. And the guy doing our tour said, we look for y'all. We look for y'all for decades, because it wasn't just, you know, certain chieftains or war people or whatever that sold off their enemies of war. They did that for a little while until they came to understand what was really happening, because their idea, as we all know, their idea of slavery was indentured servitude. You work for somebody for like 7 years, you can get married, have a family, you got rights. You can have your own property. You know, you work for somebody, you belong to them, but they treat you like a human being. The way they did slavery, chattel slavery, going into the United States, into the Caribbean, into South America, they treated you like an animal. And once they figured out exactly what was happening, they started looking for their people. Where's my cousin? Where's my little sister? Where's my father? Where are they? And then the people that started to look also came up missing. And so there is this hole, this lack of closure on the side of our distant cousins in Ghana, Togo, Benin, Nigeria, et cetera, that they never got that closure. And this is the example that he gave. As a matter of fact, I've got a picture of him here. Where is it? This, the guy in this picture, his name is Kofi. He's actually writing a book. The woman in pink here was actually our tour guide, Rashida. She introduced us to Kofi. He's writing a book about the transatlantic slave trade from the Ivory Coast / Ghanaian side. what they went through, the generational trauma that they have, because everybody has a family that is missing a branch and they don't know what happened to them. And so he said, if you had, here's his example, if you had a child and you sent that child off to school one morning, and then you heard while they were at school that something happened at the school, you don't know what it was, but all of a sudden nobody's kids are coming home and you don't know where your child is. And you search and you search and you search and you don't know where your son or daughter is. Would you rather them bring you back the dead body of your child, or would you rather never know what happened to them? And he asked us that question. We were like, at least give me the body so I can get closer so I know what happened. He's like, exactly. We never got a body. We don't know what happened. There's hundreds of thousands of people that just have a disintegrated branch off their family tree that they don't know what happened. And people that went looking for them also don't know what happened. And so and he said, we miss you. We don't see you as Black Americans. We see you as Africans that live over there. And he goes, even Haitians and Jamaicans and Trinidadians, y'all are Africans that just live somewhere else, but you are related to us. And you are welcome home at any time. To the point that we actually went through a couple of different ceremonies. This right here was really tough because they took us, forgive the graininess of the pictures because my camera was dying in the heat. But we went to the river, and this river was the last bath that the slaves got before they got shipped off to the dungeons to sit another 2 or 3 months in their own filth, which was terrible, before they got on the boat. And that last bath, he said, in this river where you stand, the DNA of your ancestors is in this water. And it was a really strong, like we were all breaking down crying. We took a whole lot of pictures just that day, but we ended up wearing white for like this whole day with a lot of different ceremonies. We went to the fortress. So this is us standing by the cannons. There was a group of like 11 of us, and this is, they have a whole history. Like it's not hidden when you go to Ghana. Like you see the pictures of the slave encampments and they talk about everything that happened, like, the freedom, the breaking the chains and returning home and, welcome back. Here's a picture of like the other side of this statue shows people in chains. This side of the statue where you're standing on the beach facing the land shows the breaking of the chains. When you stand on the land facing the beach, it shows people being shepherded off. So it's the point of no return now converted into the door of return. So it was heavy. It was so much going on. I can't even begin to encapsulate it all in just, a few minutes. But, so this is me on the beach, like standing there, like excited, angry, mad, happy, all at the same time, because that little piece of land that I'm standing on was the proverbial point of no return. And so hearing all of this and having them tell us all of this was great. We went to the Kwame Nkrumah museum, and I love this. I'm going to get this on a t-shirt. Actually, it says, I am not African because I was born in Africa, but because Africa was born in me. And this goes back to their idea of you're African. I don't care where you live now, you belong to us. And it was really interesting to have conversations like with our tour guide. Where's Rashida? Right here. Our tour guide, Rashida, who was 27 years. You talk about enterprising. That girl is 27 years old. She has her own business. She's been running a tour guide business with partners in Togo and Benin for the last 5 years. And then she makes a living doing that. And when I tell you, she had to come up every time we went somewhere. She's like, hang on, let me check this out. And she got us into a VIP concert. More on that in a minute. She taught us how to haggle in the markets. She like, whatever price they offer you, you offer them a third of that. Oh, it's $100. I give you 25. And you end up around like 40 because they expect you to have it, which is a marketing thing all across
cultural, across the country.
Africa, the Middle East, everything. This is our other tour guide. His name is Hernan, because Togo and Benin are French-speaking countries. And this is the bus. This bus, we were on that bus for 10 days. And when I tell you, you need Dramamine for the bus.
Yeah. I will say, first of all, cosign on everything. I only got to spend about 18 hours in Ghana when I was there. So I didn't get to do any of the culturally enriching stuff that you did or the experiential things, because I was there for work dealing with some African college students. But I spent much more time in East Africa, which of course was not as much with the whole enslavement or anything like that, but they did have the colonial influences of especially Great Britain and everything else. And so when you go, and if you are a person who is just there to experience what Africa is, and you can vibe with the people, and you don't have expectations of being taken care of in the way that we are accustomed to being taken care of in the West, and you just, but I will tell you, it's some rickety lack of shock suspension
Yes.
rides on the continent, for real. You be like, so
I'm so serious. Like, I don't even get car sick. I don't get seasick.
it's a
And
lot.
I'm sitting back there like, they taking like little ginger chews, like, it was terrible. I mean, it was bad. And to your point about expectations, one of the bigger things that we all came to realize is we are very American. You know, there's certain things and luxuries and amenities that you have in the United States that you don't realize other people don't do things that way. Like paved roads. They got plenty of roads, some of them dirt. Them dirt roads, they don't like you. They don't care what you got to do. Shocks, fuck a shock. I don't care about no shocks. You know, so we in the bus. So you remember when you were in like elementary school and you would ride the hump in the back?
Yeah, because you want it
all day.
No, your lower back is like, what you doing?
So Joy, because they do still see you as African, will you now consider yourself an African American?
Yes.
Black? Yeah. Okay.
So we had a whole discussion about that, me and our tour guide and Kofi, around the term Black, because they understand that we try to use Black to encompass all the people that come to the United States, whether you're from the islands or from the continent or whatever. It's an all-encompassing word. They're like, yeah, but you already had a word for that, and it was called African. You didn't really need to be Black, you know. And so he goes, you are African Jamaican. And I was like, ooh, because Jamaicans be thinking that they like on home turf. No, you're African Jamaican, African Brazilian, African American. I was like, ooh, okay, I can get with that. And I understood it. I was like, all right, African American. And he goes, it gives you a place to be from. Black is a color. And we've always talked about these things, even in our own community. But it really, it hit different coming from someone who was outside looking in. He's like, Black is a color. And race is a construct, but you are African and you will always be African. And so, yeah, I'm an African American, born on a Thursday, and based on the village that adopted us when we got there, my name is Ya Frimpoma. Ya meaning born on a Frimpoma.
Frimpoma.
Frimpomaa. Ya Frimpoma, which means, and Frimpoma means prosperity. And Ya is born on a Thursday, and it's related to the Mother Earth deity. So Earth ground. I'm from the Earth Kingdom.
Scoop.
Yep.
You got an earthbender.
Right.
What do you think was the most emotional moment for you? And because I'm sure there were plenty, but is there something that stands out to you where, like, as Nettie might say, my soul vibrated? Like, was there any? Was there a Nettie moment?
There was a Nettie moment. It was when we were standing in that river. It was.
Oh yeah.
It was two things because we did them in different order. We went to the river first. And so standing in the river and having them say the DNA of your ancestors is in this water. And then he said, what do you want to say to them? And I had this moment, I'm about to get emotional again, where he said, call on the people that came before you, call on your ancestors. And so he said, just reach out to them because they can hear you. Every soul that left this land has a place back here. And so I started thinking about my parents and my grandparents. And for a hot moment, for just a moment, because I hadn't said it in 20 years, I could not remember my grandfather's first name. Because I called him Papa, my whole life. And so I'm panicking because I can't call on my grandfather because I cannot remember. Of course, he probably heard me. And the thing that happened is I remember I heard my grandmother's voice call my grandfather's name while I'm standing in that river.
Mm.
George, and I heard it loud as day. And it was a moment of, really feeling they are here with you and they're watching you do something that they never dreamed you'd be able to do. My parents were excited to get to the Bahamas, right? Like my mother never had a passport,
Right.
and so here I am back in the motherland, her little girl listening to her ancestors. And I named as many as I could. I named George Stevenson, Annie Lee Stevenson, Annie Revels, my mother, Charles Robert, my father, Leon Moulton, my grandmother's father, like as many people as I could remember. Like y'all are all here with me. That was the moment that like really shook me up. And the other part of it was when we went to the slave castle. I think I have a picture of that too. Hang on. As I'm going through all the things that I put in here, because I put so much in here.
And you got videos too.
I got videos too. So we went to the fort. And this is the one in Ghana. And underneath this fort, now here's the crazy thing. Underneath that fort is the dungeons where they kept everybody after they gave them their quote unquote last bath, which just shows you how Europeans know nothing about hygiene. They put them in this demoralizing dungeon, no light. When you close the door, it's just dark in there with like light that only comes through for like maybe an hour a day. Like what we call that cruel and unusual punishment in today's society, right? And you're in there to stay. They don't take you out. They feed you like gruel every other day because they want you to be strong enough to get on a boat, but not strong enough to run away or revolt. And you're in there with your own feces, urine, sickness. Some people died in there, all kinds of stuff. And they didn't clean it out. They never once threw a bucket of water through there to rinse anything out. And so as we're walking through these dungeons, the floor looks like asphalt. And I'm wondering, I was like, wow, why does it look smooth down like asphalt? Because that's not a material they would have had then. He goes, this is the same waste that they walked over so often that it trampled in and solidified and created a new floor on top of the floor. They had to excavate one of the dungeons to find the one little like trail latrine that they had that was supposed to handle all this waste, but they never cleaned it out. They never cleaned those people. And so they just ended up stomping down new floor. And it's still there to this day. It's like 4 inches thick. Can you imagine? You know how we feel if we go in the bathroom after somebody else blows it up in a public bathroom, we're like, oh my God, I can't handle this. Imagine having to live in something like that for 3 to 4 months while the next boat showed up and having people ridicule you for stinking.
But being in that space, did something like happen to you? Did you feel a spirit or something with the energy that thick in there?
Yes, you can feel people. For me, it was people being glad that we didn't forget them. That was the feeling that I had going through there. Like, we still remember you. We know you existed. We know you had a life and a family. Like the people that were lost, we felt like we were reclaiming a lot of people. And talked about the fact that of everyone that was captured to be sold off into slavery, only 20% made it to their final destination. And so because of that, because you lost so many people, even there's, I don't know if I put a picture of this in here or not, there's a burial ground that is monumental because it's not everyone, but they have like a representative burial ground for the people that died waiting to be transported. So some people died in those dungeons. And if they thought you were too sick to make the trip, they would just kill you or bury you alive along with everybody else because you're damaged goods. And then they put the rest of them on the boat. Some people died, got thrown overboard or what have you on the boat. And so 20% made it to the United States, which is why the number of slaves is incalculable. But for those of us who are African Americans, we are the strongest because we are the descendants of the people that survived the most harrowing trip to ever be known to man. So whenever somebody tells you that you weak, you lazy, you tired, you dumb, no, quite the opposite. We're stronger than anybody else. That's why they can't get rid of us in this country, because all you got left is the cream of the crop. Yeah. Right. One other thing I wanted to touch on before I get away from the heavy stuff is where is that picture?
That's a Black History message right there, sweetheart.
It really is. It really is. And we took this picture in front of the map of Ghana. So this is everybody that came with me. We got doctors, you got lawyers, you got government workers who were actually, a couple of them were worried about the emails they were getting while we were gone. They thought they got fired while we were gone to Africa. But the success on success on success, coming back to find their roots. You know, we looked at, there's an enclave of African Americans that live in Ghana that have kind of built their own little thing up. Because like I mentioned, there's some amenity differences. Like if you use a restroom, whether it's public or private, if you use a bathroom in Ghana, if it's number one, you're supposed to, you know, take some little toilet paper blot and throw that in the trash.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that took some getting used to, because I'm like, do what now? No, hell no. But it's a landfill issue. It's a sanitation and a water issue.
They do that in Mexico too, because of the plumbing being so bad. Yeah.
Exactly. And so that took some getting used to. And I was a little defined. I was like, look, if there's any discoloration on this paper, it is going in the toilet. What I'm not going to do is put this in the trash. That being said, only after a couple of days, your whole ecosystem gets used to fresh fruit, soft water, because they had bottled water, but it was coming from different sources. And so my skin was cleared up. My friends who have like sinus issues, none of us had sinus issues. None of us were ashy. So this whole idea of being like needing like lotion, we were ready to get slathered in shea butter from top to bottom. I look up on day 2, the humidity is such that I didn't even need lotion. I'm just walking around. And another thing that we notice is, why are we sweating? And ain't nobody else sweating. One, they're used to it. But 2, everybody wears patterned clothing. And a lot of it is tailored, because there's a lot of tailors and seamstresses as a profession in Ghana. And so if I got on a busy pattern, you can't tell I'm sweating. Meanwhile, most Americans are over there looking like Americans in like blue jeans and a blue t-shirt with big sweat rings everywhere, looking hot, looking a mess.
Well, while we're just lest anyone think that Mexico and the continent have a monopoly on interesting bathroom practices. When I was in China, in a train station in Shanghai, you walk into the bathroom and it is a room with a hole cut in the floor. And people just be squatting. Ain't no flushing, ain't shit but shit. Right. So don't get it twisted. There are things that go on around this world that most Americans can't even comprehend in terms of how things and how people do things. But I am not only glad that you had that life-affirming experience, Joy. I am happy that flying back during Trump's FAA, you were able to make it, because list 10. I was actually supposed to be flying to Virginia, and Virginia got like a foot of snow around the place I was supposed to be going. And so we ended up transitioning from an in-person tournament to a virtual tournament. And so the consequence was that I didn't have to go. But I am not going to lie, that Canadian plane messed me up. And at first, I just saw the images of the aftermath. And it was like, well, that's crazy enough. Just the plane being upside down. I'm imagining myself being in a plane and literally flipping. Right. Once you get on the ground, and thinking to myself, well, at least we're on the ground, and then rip it. And then I saw footage of the whole approach. And then I saw footage of the whole approach, and then listening to the flight attendant on the inside saying, so we know that 2 of the wheels are busted, but we're fully capable of landing with the 1 wheel. And then when they hit that ground, and the wing just said, bye, and then everything flipped over, and the rain of sparks. I was like, this is crazy. And then just saw yesterday, I think it was, United and Delta, 2 whole planes almost collided in the air. Because nobody's telling them to look out for each other, because FAA is undermanned. And they finally got the black box stuff on that first helicopter plane entanglement. Yeah. And what they found out is that because they're using AM, the VHF, the AM frequency, only one side can be talking at a time. It's like the original walkie-talkies, where if you're trying to say, hello, Joy, and Joy is trying to talk to me, nobody can hear anything. And so they would hear the end, but not hear the you need to avoid. And so they just didn't catch it in time. And so everything went crazy. And so I am not sad that I did not travel, but I am very glad that you were able to make it back and you are on the ground. You were back in your condo
Yep.
doing and living your life, because it is crazy out here, people.
Before we transition, I hear you transition. I got more to say. I'm not done.
Oh no, I was just
okay. That was the historical part of it all, but we did have some fun while we were there. So, like I said, you talk about, again, changing your expectations. So we went through the markets in Ghana. You know, there's street markets, there's street vendors, similar to like downtown Atlanta. There's people selling water in between cars and whatnot, people walking around. We discovered like all those women with the thing on their head is a little flat thing that they put up there to keep it still. I was like, how are you doing that? But they selling boiled eggs off top of their head. Yes, little boiled eggs and like a little, like, look like the dish we put deviled eggs in. She got that on her head, just selling. Bottles of water, mangoes. Oh my God, if you don't get one of those mangoes in your life, you're doing life wrong. Pineapples. You know, American pineapples, or at least Hawaiian pineapples, you got to take the core out because it's unedible. They ate the whole thing. And it's white flesh in the pineapple. It's a whole different species and it's delicious.
Even the outside?
Well, not the hull, but like even all the way down through.
We usually don't eat. Yeah.
Usually you core out the middle, you get that hole in the middle of the pineapple.
Joke.
I know. But the other things we noticed was, if you look at the market, it looks like a shanty town. You know, they've got like corrugated ceiling, like a piece of metal or whatever, maybe an old container, they've converted it to like a shop store. And you think, oh, this looks really run down. But then you have to realize this is upcycling resources. Why would we throw all this corrugated container stuff away when I can turn this into a shop? Now I got my own shop on the corner that is basically duty free, right? And everybody has a business. Anybody getting up and going to work for the man? They're getting up and selling their own chicken skewers. They're selling their own t-shirts. They're selling their own whatever they might have, whatever product they got, their own shea butter, whatever. And they're all making a living in this barter economy, you know. And then prices fluctuate, depends on how good you can bargain. And here's where the Ghana and Nigeria thing comes in. So our tour guide was Ghanaian, and the other tour guides, Togo and Benin as well. They said that Nigeria is the America of Africa in the way that they act, the way they think they're better than everybody else, the kind of arrogance that goes along with what we call like ugly American, all of that. And she said, everybody's a scammer. She's like, everybody's a scammer in Africa, because if you stupid enough to fall for it, that's on you. But she goes, Ghanaians are nice scammers. If you leave $100 on the table, they're going to take 70. They're going to leave you 30, so you can at least get dinner or something that you might need. She goes, if you're with a Nigerian and you leave $100 on the table, they're taking all the money, they're taking the table and the ground.
I'm telling you, you need to give them another $10.
Right. And then convince you that you owe them money.
Right.
Okay. So Bob, oh my God, Bob, the VIP concert. I got pictures for you. So that's gonna be the last thing I talk about, because in the midst of all of this heavy things that we were doing, the naming ceremony, meeting the king tried to marry my friend Dara, by the way. He told her that he'll be back for her. He understands how to find her, and that she is going to be his second wife.
Oh God.
He was dead serious about that. And Dara was trying to run from him. So when we had this thing where we had to sit down and watch the entertainment, everybody left a seat next to the king for her. And I'm like, Dara, sit in your seat. And she's like, girl, no. So when I went there, I had to sit next to the king. And when he saw me coming, the gas face I got from the king of the village, he was like, he didn't want no parts of me. He wanted Dara, because Dara is his second wife, or she's going to be, because he's going to figure that out. But we went to this VIP concert. There was a local, I think it's called High Life, musical artist, and he is turning 75, I believe, and he said he's never headlined his own concert. So the community came together to create a concert at this like posh like restaurant bar so that he could headline his own concert. They had music going all night, and it was really great. We got VIP courtesy of Rashida, our tour guide. She got us VIP tickets at our own table. Now, here's where it gets funny, because the colonizers had tried to get in here and make this night their own. I feel like it was maybe some company or something that decided to go out for drinks and have fun. But we ended up making fun of them all night because why are you here? And so some of the videos I wanted to share, like you can see them right here. Check this out. How Here's another example. I had to zoom in. This is the clear example of my coworkers making me dance for her, right? I had to catch this woman's face. She's like, yeah.
She's like, you're touching my hand.
Right. This is the face of a woman that does not want to be with the people she's with. Right. We've all been there. But the highlight of the evening, though, was they had their very own Randy Watson.
Oh, no. Right. Sexual chocolate. Oh.
The minute I saw him, I was like, what is this wig? What is he wearing? And when I tell you he was shaking hard, that wig did not come off all night. But the minute I saw him, I was like, sexual chocolate. He can play the guitar, though.
I believe the children are our future.
Right.
Let them.
We had such a good time. One of the things that we did go to, so this is how everything ties together for me. As I'm on this trip, this pilgrimage, we go to the village of Gambie, which is in Benin. And Gambie is the village on the water where when the slavers were coming through kidnapping people, some folks escaped to the water and built a village out there. If you watch the series, the documentary series High on the Hog on Netflix, they talk about Gambie and some of the differences in cuisine that are so like almost ancient because they had no shaping of their culture. It was kind of an isolated, situation. But they still gonna, make that money. So this is the kids that welcomed us into the village because it's almost like Venice, you got to get around with a boat. Mm-hmm. There is no street. There are no streets in this village. Everything is on the water. And so you go if you got to go to a friend's house, you're taking your little motorboat over to the friend's house. But this was a piece of their welcome to us.
Oh.
They turned that boat around. I had to get a small snippet of it because I couldn't get it to download. But they turned that boat around twice. They leaned back. They put their heads back like they were drum majors at North Carolina A&T. It was so cute. It was so good. Then they came. Some of them jumped on our boat and was doing a little, basically, the little dance for money. Right. So we had to pay them off a little bit. But it was so wonderful because they knew we were coming because our tour guide told them, because he's from that city. He's like, hey, bring the boys out to welcome my friends when they come to town. And so we got special treatment everywhere we went. If y'all want to know the whole lineup of everybody that we work with, let me know. I'll send you all the information. It was the tour of a lifetime. I could never have done that trip by myself. Just the language barriers alone, from English speaking to French speaking to Twi speaking, which is just trying to get through all that. We would have got scammed 4 and 5 times. They saved us hundreds of dollars at the border because we were about to pay stupid fees that we didn't have to pay.
Right.
So
it's definitely a hustle. When I flew into JKIA, people are trying to Jomo Kenyatta into Kenya. You trying to just get your bag through customs or whatever, and they have these big machines where they will wrap it in plastic just to make sure that you understand that nobody's getting into your bag, and then you have to get your visa, which maybe $40 or $50. It's like you coming into the country, even though you pre-did your visa over here, you got to give another visa, and so
or another little $35. Mm-hmm.
Right. It's always a little hustle. But listen, we got people scamming folks out there on Social Security checks over here. So I don't know
out in broad daylight. Mm-hmm.
What are we saying? What are we doing? Is there anything else you want to share with us, Mother Africa, about this inspiring trip?
I discovered something since I am pre-diabetic when I think I have a picture, maybe I don't, maybe I didn't put it in here. But when we did our naming ceremony, they wrapped us in bitter melon vines. And bitter melon it's in the cucumber family, but boiling bitter melon before it gets ripe reduces your insulin, your blood sugar. Yeah, to the point that they say if you drink bitter melon tea or use it in your food, be careful about talking to your doctor about it because it could make you hypoglycemic.
Right.
And so it is a natural remedy to fight diabetes. And it's interesting how that works. Like the things that we might in America say, you know, this is messing up my stomach. I ate this food and it made me sick. The things they serve with the food, if you eat the whole meal, balances out. You know, if you're eating something spicy and you're worried about how it might make you feel, they're also serving you sorrel punch. Mm-hmm. It's like, well, hibiscus tea. So the hibiscus juice causes you to, it's an anti-diuretic. So it goes back and forth. But if you only try one thing and not everything, you might run afoul of the public restrooms. But if you follow the local customs and do what the people do, you'll be all right. After realizing that, like on day 2, we had no problems. I'm eating everything they put in front of me. I'm eating my fufu with my hands and everything and having a good time. Trying the highest spice levels and drinking my hibiscus juice and not a single problem. I don't even think I snored while I was gone, which is a big deal. Mm-hmm. Sinuses cleared up, skin cleared up, no like aches and pains. And it was the aches and pains missing wasn't necessarily the country. It was the lack of stress because I turned my phone off. I didn't have to worry about anything. I promise you, when I got on that plane to come back to JFK, my hip started hurting, my shoulder tightened up. We got to get out of here, y'all.
Let's go.
Queen Dara. When she got back on the bus, she was the last one to get on the bus that night. When she got back on, everybody on the bus out, she's your queen to me. She was so sick of us.
Lovely Queen Dara, he'll come for you tomorrow and take you to his castle.
She told her mother about what happened. Her mom's like, so would I be the queen mother? Like her mother was all in. Last thing that I forgot to tell you. So we talk about going back to the motherland. First off, there's thousands of African Americans that live in Ghana right now. And in the village where we got named and got adopted by the royal family, their griot is from the Bronx.
What?
Yes. His father was the previous griot for the king. And when he died, they found his son and said, it's time for you to come home and assume your place in the village.
Oh, wow.
They offered him 3,000 acres.
3,000 acres?
Yes. So he basically has a village of his own, right?
I'll be a griot.
Right, to come back because they asked him to uproot his whole life and leave everything behind and come live in Ghana.
They went and found him in the boogie down and enticed him to come back. Are you serious?
He said he had
to come to Ghana, son.
Yeah.
On God.
Yeah. I mean, he's doing this ceremony of us. He's like, you know, and we're hearing, you know, the accent. He goes, yeah, I'm from the boogie down. Like, yo, and he's like 65. It was great.
Oh my gosh.
Wow.
And how long is
now you're making me want to. I mean, I've been wanting to go to the West Coast because Ghana was the only country on the West Coast that I got a chance to see. And like I said, I didn't get to see it near long enough. But I definitely
Phil. We saved her, Phil. We saved her from the dynamic.
I mean, you think. But he'd be texting Dara like, my queen. Come back.
They did get our name and birthday so they could figure out our African name. So if you can name and birthday, he might be able to find her.
I was gonna say he's gonna be able to find y'all. Does Dara live in Atlanta with you? Oh,
no, she ain't gonna say where Dara is. Dara, yeah, no, she ain't giving no clue.
And to your point, Marie, get your AfricanAncestry.com.
African Ancestry, yeah.
And it'll tell you what village you're from.
And I actually was on a podcast with one of the co-founders of African Ancestry, and she gave some information about which haploid and hap group you need to be in for them to actually do it. So given what my 23andMe results were, it'll be interesting to see if I even qualify for African Ancestry. This is very present in my makeup. So, but we'll see. I'd love to explore African Ancestry and see if there's anything that would be good for me. Now, that said, that was That was a full course meal, actually. We had fufu, we had the hibiscus and soul punch and everything else.
Pineapples and mangoes,
The
yep.
bitter melon and the mango and the pineapples. So there is other stuff that we have to talk about, just stuff in this country. So first off, let me just say, there's a lot of stuff going on with this whole doggy thing and Elon Musk. And Elon Musk is supposed to be in charge, but now Elon Musk definitely is officially he's not in charge at all. But people are getting fired. Property values in the DMZ are plummeting.
Yeah.
They say 20% of property values, because everybody's losing their jobs, and so everybody's trying to sell, and so it's flooded with homes, and you don't have people trying to come there. You've got Governor Youngkin in Virginia promising that the people who are being laid off, oh, don't worry about it, we're going to have a solution because this is necessary, and da 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 da. Meanwhile, none of it is legal, and yet they're still doing it because the Supreme Court, you've got federal judges coming in and saying, no, this is, Tanya Chutkan, more on her later. There's lots of people doing lots of things, lots of stuff being filed, but the Supreme Court hasn't come in to say, yeah, no, you can't do this. And in the interim, yes, I know, Bob, but we got some stuff going on. So in the interim, what you have is the only mechanism that the GOP, because there are GOP folks who are concerned about this, but the only mechanism they have to express their discontent is to not vote on his cabinet picks. And everyone has been approved, although it has been strictly on partisan lines. And the latest clown to come out of the clown car is Kash Patel, who was confirmed with a 51 to 49 vote. So you lost Susan Collins. I guess you probably lost Mitch, because Mitch is basically just like,
yeah, he voted no. Yeah.
So those were your two, but he was the lowest threshold. The last person, it's usually 92 out of 100 is who votes for the FBI director. He got 51, and so now he's in. And Hegseth is a nightmare. Rubio is hopelessly outmatched.
Who isn't?
Literally everybody is. Kristi Noem cosplaying. And again, we talk about how much the government is spending, blah, blah, blah. Y'all know they are spending $200 million on a television campaign for Kristi Noem to tell people to leave.
Yeah.
$200 million with her dressed up like she's actually an ICE agent or Homeland Security person.
Yeah.
Like she's actually running around doing anything but shooting her own dog. And they're spending $200 million on that when you're firing IRS employees, you're firing people from HHS. And remember all those packages? Ooh, you'll get 8 months salary. Just leave, you'll get 8 months salary.
You knew that was a lie.
Right?
Yeah.
You knew that was a lie.
What's happening?
You signed that paper, and then they sent you an email saying, "Oh yeah, no, you were just fired.
We're gonna renege." What's happening with Doge is the fact that they're beginning to see, and I guess more people are beginning to talk. What actually Elon is doing is obviously and just widespread illegal. There's been no vetting, no investigation, and all these young boys that he's bringing in to work with him, they haven't been vetted either.
No.
So all of this sensitive information that they all of a sudden have access to, that is a violation of the law. So all of a sudden
absolutely.
There's ambiguity as to what his, role is, because this just happened all of a sudden. We've been knowing what he was doing. He's like some Department of Government Efficiency. But now there's like, well, we don't really know. He's like his advisor, he's that. So they're trying to cover their butts because they know they're getting into some things that they can't get out of legally.
What they also should know is that he has never had government clearance.
Right.
Correct.
And
he's never
go to jail.
He hasn't been confirmed.
You're right.
He's operating at a cabinet secretary's level of power with no confirmation. And just as an aside, this is just me being me. I'm not going to refer to that division of government by that acronym because Elon Musk owns a stake in the coin that has the same name as
Okay.
that. So I'm not going to say that name. I said doggy, or we can say, people put in other acronyms, but I'm not going to say what Elon has asked people to say, because he's just promoting his Bitcoin or his cryptocurrency on that. And so, but the whole point is that we are in a nightmare scenario of where our own government, exactly, our own government is abandoning any pretense of actually caring about the folks who empowered these people. And we've been talking about leopards eating faces and everything else because the leopards have been feasting, and we've been talking about it. Here is a quick clip about leopardy sort of stuff that I wanted to share with everybody. So let's take a look. Oh, let's do this one. There we go. Oh, no.
So, everybody's had the same question. Why are maggots, Trump supporters, conservatives, so angry? Still, like they won. Why are they still angry? Someone sent me this, and it's the greatest thing I've ever seen. Imagine you've been holding in a shit, and then you shit yourself in an elevator, okay? You're gonna feel good for about 5 seconds until you realize you just shit yourself, and everyone around you is disgusted. You'll try to rationalize it, say that you had to go, that you have toilet anxiety, but it'll never erase the shame. These people shit themselves in an elevator, and they want us to validate them and tell them that everything's going to be okay. They're not happy with their own decision.
And this is where we are, folks. Like, legitimately, this is where we are. He put in Tulsi Gabbard, who is so clearly compromised by Russia, as the director of national intelligence, the person who coordinates the information that we get from our intelligence agencies.
Yeah. Red Dawn happened like a few weeks ago. Yeah.
Bruh. I mean, it is absolutely Looney Tunes. And for me to sit and watch, and again, Jermaine and I are in California. I feel a little bit more insulated just because governor and our senators and reps and all this other sort of stuff. We are somewhat inured from what some of the other people are realizing. But, you've got Alabama. These people where universities are the number one employer in different little pockets of states and everything, and the research funding is being cut. Senator Britt, with her strenuously palm-colored self, is freaking out.
Yeah.
All of them are saying, "Oh, surely not my state, which takes more disproportionately federal funds than California or Massachusetts or Illinois or whatever. Oh no, not my state that needs SNAP benefits and food stamps and everything else. Not me. No, not me."
Yeah.
And Trump is like, well, first of all, it's not even Trump. It's just Elon Musk. And Elon Musk is just a sociopath. He really doesn't care at all.
All the crops that these farmers are pretty much, growing on their farms in the Midwest, they were for projects and for programs and initiatives that was tied to USAID. They were growing specifically for those initiatives outside of our country. So those contracts are just dangling. They can't pay anybody. Nobody's being able to do anything because these government contracts are pretty much null and void right now. So when you have people who don't understand how government works coming in, axing things, that's the immediate fallout. I mean, that's what's going to happen at the very top. We haven't even seen the massive fallout, but that's like at the very beginning. It hit home for me this week because my brother works for the agriculture department. And so he's just waiting. They haven't gotten to him yet, but they're all just waiting idly because, people that do the USDA, the stamps on the meat in the grocery stores, that's his job. So he feels like he might have a stay, but at the same time, with everything as being as ridiculous as it is, he's not holding any guarantees.
No, absolutely. Here's another thing that I saw that I found to be hilarious because it refers to our good friend Felon Musk. Tesla has a new battery source, small dick energy, and what people are realizing, it's not even just regular rank and file folks that are having trouble. Even the corporations who decided they were going to nut up and go along with what Trump was trying to do are facing consequences, unintended consequences that are affecting their bottom line in a gross, a huge way. And these people, Joy was talking before her trip about the efficacy of boycotts, and what can happen if we do unite is we can have a great impact. And I wanted to share this story that I shared in our group, but it was about what happened in the midst of the civil rights movement in the immediate aftermath of Medgar Evers' passing, assassination, and what this town did and how committed they were. Because again, the Montgomery bus boycott was not, Rosa Parks sitting on a thing and then the next day it was done. That was a year plus of people walking.
380 some odd days.
Yeah, I think it was 81. But anyway, take a look at this. This is the sort of story that even I had not heard. I had not heard this at all. And I was very gratified to hear it. Let's take a look.
Man, listen. Before Target eliminated DEI, the streets of Mississippi in 1966 were silent. You see, white-owned businesses were empty, cash registers didn't ring, because black folks, honey, the backbone of their profits were gone. At first, the shopkeeper said they'll be back, but then days turned to weeks. Then weeks turned into months, and months turned into years. What had once been a town that disrespected black money was now on the brink of collapse, and one man was behind it all. Remember the time when black people boycotted nearly 10 years because people disrespected their black dollar? This month, I'm telling our stories through the lens of AI. Chris Evers didn't ask for respect, baby. He took it. When his brother Medgar Evers was gunned down in cold blood for fighting for black rights, baby, instead of running, Charles picked up the torch and lit the whole daggone system on fire. This was after a young black man, Roosevelt, got gunned down by Port Gibson police officers following the assassination of MLK Jr., baby. He demanded the entire police force be discharged, and when the demand was not met, he declared war, not with bullets, but with black dollars. The Claiborne County boycott had begun, baby. And for 6 years, no more gas from racist-owned stations, no more groceries from racist-owned markets, no more clothes from racist-owned boutiques. Many families would drive 75 miles out of the community in solidarity, and hundreds of thousands of dollars in black spending vanished overnight. Racist business owners who had never feared losing the black dollar before were now desperate. And to enforce the boycott, Evers men, known as Black Hats, stood guard outside the stores, warning everyone not to betray the cause. And those who broke ranks, their names were printed in newspapers. 17 racist merchants sued the NAACP and Charles Evers for $2 million and said black people could not boycott racist businesses, honey. Then he ordered the NAACP and Charles Evers to pay these racist businesses over $2 million. But in 1982, the U.S. Supreme Court ruled the boycott was legal and protected under the First Amendment. Black people had the right to use their dollars as a weapon. So those same business owners apologized and hired black workers, to include black police officers, and then those same boycotters did something else. Charles became mayor. Frank Davis, fired by his racist boss, became Claiborne County's first black sheriff. And boycott organizers ran for city council, and they won, honey. And black business owners became a majority on Market Street. They went from asking to be a part of to owning the political and business economy in Claiborne, Mississippi. This wasn't just a boycott, it was war. And Charles Evers, he won. And here he is in real life. Learn how to turn your creativity into capital at school at night. See you tomorrow.
Okay, that baby is adorable.
And I love her VO.
Yes.
The
right?
Playboy City boycott had begun, baby.
Honey. And so here is the aftermath of the modern day version of how you mobilize and make things happen. And also, this woman's skincare routine is absolutely epic.
Listen, I, for one, am extremely happy that Target came out with an apology. And after about 0.25 seconds, it's still a no. It's still a no for me, dog. We will not be coming back, because why? You let an entire room of probably mostly white men convince you that black money was unnecessary. So you didn't need it to appease a man that shouldn't be in office in the first place. And now here we are. You didn't expect your stock prices to drop as much as they did. So the rollback, completely unnecessary, babe. You putting it back into place after a week? Nah. You are showing us exactly what you feel about us, our money, and this little 5-year experiment that you went on after George Floyd was just that. Just PR. And we, to a degree, knew it, but it was still nice to see black women businesses in Target that I could go to while getting other things. Imagine going back to a company that is currently getting sued by its own shareholders because they didn't understand the impact of taking away a DEI policy would do on their business. This apology means nothing. And why would we go to Target when Costco is right there existing, standing 10 toes down? I can get a 30 pack of toilet paper for $20. At Target, a 12 to 16 pack costs the exact same price. Why? When I can get 14 more rolls over at Costco while getting a $5 rotisserie and a $1.50 hot dog. Why would I spend more money when I don't have to? And the gag is $200 at Target. It's like, oh my God, oof, so much expensive stuff. What did I do? How did I get here? $200 at Costco is a savings day. Because me and my husband drop a good $4 to $4.50 every time we go to Costco. So there's a 100% chance everything that I got from Target, I can get from somewhere else. Because DEI isn't just black dollars. That's the thing. Not only are the blacks and the browns not coming to Target, the LGBTQIA community's not going to Target. There's a lot of women who could find women businesses in Target aren't going. You thought that small set of black retailers wasn't going to make a big difference. You forgot about all the allies that are going to stand on business as well. So might I suggest going forward, don't make such a silly decision as to cut off the one thing that made Target unique and a place to go all the time. Okay? All right. Hope you kids have a good one.
So let me just say, first of all, her voice is so, the timbre of it is so amazing. But the thing that I actually love is that all of these hand motions just made it so entertaining to watch. Mm-hmm. And she's dripping her little serums and rubbing it on her neck and in her face and telling the story uninterrupted, unbroken, and clearly hitting nar. Like, just everything about that gave me like, this is what we can do. And if you are going to backtrack and apologize and fold after only a week, let's be clear, Donald Trump was folding within hours. A lot of his little missteps, you know, the whole tariff thing between Mexico and Canada, and he's got his press secretary still making jokes about our soon-to-be 51st state. Girl, shut up. Nobody thinks it's funny. Nobody thinks it's funny. And Canada is big. Like, I don't know how you think that huge landmass, notwithstanding the fact that Quebec is like its own subculture anyway.
Right.
How you think
Quebec is a country.
Quebec is its own country. They've been trying to secede from Canada. They're barely holding on. You got like freedom fighters, the Québécois. They're you know, Liberté de Québec. They're trying to break off. Best believe that would happen. But British Columbia on its own would be a good state. Ontario, certainly on its own. Quebec, they're never going to join. But the point is that even if you just looked at the prairie states as kind of one big old Nebraska, it's never going to be homogenous in the way that Trump seems to think it is. And yes, there are a lot fewer people spread across that giant landmass, but that doesn't mean anything. They're their own country, and they don't like the jokes. It's not going to be.
They don't like us.
Yeah.
They don't. They're booing at our hockey games.
Mm-hmm.
They're booing at our basketball games.
We are an international obscenity.
We
A
are.
pariah.
He's only been pretending and posturing as president. All of these things that he's done, he's signed executive orders. That's all he's pretty much done, is shown up at every major, sports game for the most part. That's all that he's done since he's been in office. You remember when most presidents would try to really go to different states and different counties and really campaign for this piece of legislation that they want to get passed? All he's doing is signing executive orders. Those things are easily reversed. Now, mind you, they're wreaking havoc on us, but it's not like anything is binding. So Elon is probably more president than he is at this point, I would say.
Well, his son certainly seems to
Right.
No doubt.
How you gonna let a little 5-year-old boy tell you to shut up in your own Oval Office?
Were you in the States when that happened, Joy?
I saw the clip. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Sitting in the Resolute desk. Shh, you're not the president.
It's sad.
Oh, it's well, it's sad that Felon is using his children as shields. You can't see him out in public.
You're gonna have to shoot one of them kids to get him, and he knows that.
Oh, absolutely. Hugging him. And when he put that kid on his shoulders, you are in the Oval, sir.
Yeah.
You are in the Oval Office.
Oh, I see what Phil is saying. Like, if we did annex Canada, it's 9 or 10 states, and there's 72% liberal. So imagine the shift in the Senate and the Congress. It would all move left if we did pick up Canada. It's not like he's picking up conservative time.
Well, but he's not. I mean, let's be clear. He's discussing 51st state.
Yeah.
He's not putting any thought behind.
No, he's just talking crazy like Gulf of America. And shame on you for letting that shit happen.
Well, they're getting ready to roll out a bird flu vaccine because it's getting out of hand, something that we in the States won't even freaking recognize, but whatever.
Well, they canceled the measles vaccinations in Texas while you're having that spike, and also tuberculosis. We are back in La Boheme, people.
Right. It's Les Mis up in this piece.
I mean, because
Typhoid Mary is on the move.
Listen, because RFK Jr., it's so frustrating. We started the show on such a sense of positivity.
I want to tell you something that it's not something I forgot, but I think it's germane to the no pun intended, to the conversation we're about to have right here. Is one thing that we seem to always forget, and the boycotts bring it to mind. The enterprising young people I saw in Africa brings it to mind. And I happened to be reading this book called Babel by R.F. Kuang, Asian American woman, talking about the translators in Oxford in the early 1800s or so. But here's the thing. All of these things came together for me at one time. And I began to realize we don't need white people, like, at all. And there are certain things like, the airlines and maybe some public transportation. We got jobs that we kind of want to keep so we can pay our rent, all those type of things. But generally speaking, we could slowly but surely move to being autonomous from them. We don't need them. They've always needed us. And it's actually the central message to the book, Babel, is they need us to make them rich.
Hell yeah.
We need them to live, though. And so we could just divest ourselves of this whole hyper-capitalist in-state ridiculousness that they're doing, and just be like, you know what? I'm going to choose to live differently. I may not be in a gigantic house with a monster truck or what have you, but I'm going to take my little beater and get me, a plot of land and put a couple of goats on or whatever, and live in a commune with my friends off the grid and be chilling and not owe anybody anything. And you can't make me come back and work for you. And that's what a lot of this is. The pushes that they're doing right now is all a concerted, massive effort to get more mindless workers to feed their corporate machines. That's the attack on education and the attack on healthcare. Because when I was in corporate America, I ran across a whole lot of people all the time that used to have a business, and now they go back and work for a company. And the number one reason was insurance. They needed health insurance.
Yeah.
If they ever figure out how to get rid of the Affordable Health Care Act, they might have more leverage. But right now, I can get insurance if I want it. And if I don't want it, I don't necessarily have to have it. I can just be out here just raw dog in the air and catching everything. It's not going to be my problem, you know? But recognizing that the power has always been with the people, we let them tell us we don't have power. Yeah. And we believe it. We've got to stop believing that and realize we can do what we want. We are just as powerful as our ancestors that went for 10 years. You know, if we sit and think about it, like she said, you can go to Costco, you can drive 35 miles. It's a lack of convenience. Mm-hmm. Like there's the farmers market here in Atlanta that I go to is a collective owned by a bunch of like Ethiopians and Eritreans. I go there like every other weekend and get all my food. The food is better too. I might spend a little more in certain places. I don't need to go to Amazon. Everything that is on Amazon, those people ship it directly. They use Amazon for the breadth of
staging warehouse. Exactly.
Right. But staging warehouse. We don't need this. A middleman. Cut the middleman out.
And if you are buying a Black product from Amazon, realize that Amazon is taking a ton of that money. Mm-hmm. So whenever possible, I like to support the vendor from their own spaces. So like on my own page, polio, my God.
That's in crutches and leg braces.
In the midst of the wildfires, this company, MD Goods, they're based in Tennessee. She made a hat. She flipped the LA Dodgers logo to make it an AL and made it an Altadena hat. 100% of the profits, so non-production costs, go to support relief efforts in that Pasadena community, for the Altadena community. For those of you who are unaware, Altadena was a place where Blacks who were redlined out of other communities in the Los Angeles metro area ended up settling. And so generations ago, they were buying houses and plots of land, et cetera, et cetera. Millions and millions of dollars worth of generational wealth was laid to waste in 2 weeks. And so if you are interested in supporting, if you're interested in showing solidarity with those hundreds and hundreds of Black families, thousands of Black families that lost almost everything, not only their property, but also their memories, the pieces of the historical artifacts, family heirlooms, all of that was lost. Please go and support. I have the hat, and it's a real nice hat. And for those of you who are hat heads, it's pre-bowed. So it doesn't come flat. You know how we like our stuff nice and bowed.
Curve and contour.
It's nice and curved. So it fits right out of the box. And she says on the website now, look, demand has been incredible. We're working to get them out. It might take about 2 weeks for you to get your hat, but it's a great hat and it's a great message. And people on my Facebook page, I made it my cover image and I also made it my avatar. And, somebody asked me today, yo, Frat, what's up with the hat? And so I was able to tell him and now he knows. So if you are going to support people, we talked about various, and if you just Google Black owned these days, there are a whole bunch of different lists. Go directly to those websites. Don't seek them out. Bezos is no friend to us. Trust and believe. He simply is not. The positions that he's taking with the Washington Post and everything else. They literally had an advertisement that was supposed to be in a special wraparound edition of the Washington Post that would have hit doorsteps in DC. It would have been the edition that the White House got, basically putting Trump on blast. A complete outer shell wraparound ad that was approved. And on the interior of the regular issue, the regular editions that get mailed out and shipped out or whatever, they allowed the ad to run on the inside. But that wraparound thing that had been a paid for promotion spend, a big spend, they decided no. And so they pulled the ad from the inside as well because of the hypocrisy. So there are things that we can do. And Joy, to your point about, pulling back, stepping back, it is a critical thing.
Yeah.
I mean, we've got to be making choices now that show where we can express our will. And there's some special elections coming up to replace Matt Gaetz' seat, to replace another of his nominees that was confirmed. And so we are at an inflection point where well before the midterms, we might be able to flip the House. It's going to be tough. I mean, Matt Gaetz is obviously in a conservative district, but if if people who don't normally vote and didn't normally vote, special elections are the time when 25 people, when 6 people can make a difference. And so if you mobilize like it's 2024 and in that district, every Democrat that goes out to vote can overwhelm the few folks that might not go out, because it's going to be special. You've got Virginia about to have elections. And if you flip the governor out because of his foolishness, things can change. If we flip the House, you've got investigations, you've got oversight, you've got Elon shut down, not by judges, by a co-equal branch of government. And so these are the times. I mean, we don't want to wait 2 years.
No, we can't wait 2 years. We won't be here.
We can't.
We have a running head start and momentum right now with everything that's going on. We have a narrative that's out there that we can use to like build on.
Before people lose interest out of their desperation.
So while eggs are high, while gas is high, while inflation is climbing, while all of this craziness is going on, nobody wants to hear. You've got these women who are like, well, I just wanted the borders and I didn't want fentanyl. And now I'm not going to get my SNAP benefits or my, WIC or whatever. And I don't know if I'm going to be able to feed my kids. It's like, well, we tried to tell you. And people are talking about how embarrassed they are. People who, but I didn't think they were going to deport my coworker. I didn't know they were going to have raids in the dialysis center where we serve people. I thought they were going after criminals. I thought it was drugs that we were.
Yeah. First off, we told you that all the people that you were targeting were not criminals.
We're not criminals.
Yeah.
And the people who they have in Guantanamo, where the worst, quote unquote, terrorists, that some of whom never got trials or anything, were kept. Now it's just regular migrant people.
Yeah.
Folks who didn't have their documentation when ICE came in, weren't doing anything but paying taxes, weren't doing anything but picking your food.
Right. And think about how that's going to
building your house. Weren't doing anything but, whatever job you were doing, those factory jobs, whatever it was.
Yep.
And the flip side of it is that that's a big narrative, right? I saw a clip today where it was a sister and she was just laughing because the guy was being deported and he was like, I'll be back. And a week later, he was like posing in front of an American building, like, I'm here.
That's kind of brave of that brother too. I was like, yo, dude, somebody can like scope your scenery and find out where you at.
They ain't got time for all that. They didn't even know that firing all those nuclear people was gonna turn over our nuclear. I mean, they're not making sense. They don't know what they're doing. It is so absolutely insane and frustrating. And even the military, they're about to fire the chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, who was confirmed by Congress to serve until 2027. And they're talking about Hegseth, talking about firing him. Hegseth, who has commanded nothing. Hegseth, who isn't a 4-star anything.
This is how we get invaded. North Korea is going to drop some shit on us. Watch.
Listen. And they're not even going to tell.
He says, I live on a border town and people now are very, very scarce. A border town declared an emergency. Look at that. People, the world is reacting to the bad decisions that this country is making with a whole bunch of, boo-boo, we're going to be over here. We got no help, no support, no allies, and no real infrastructure to do anything if something happens. Canada already threatened to turn the power off in the north.
Yep.
It seems like the goal is just cruelty,
Yes.
That's all they want to do is just to be the most cruel government that we've ever had in our lifetime.
Because they think violence is strength.
Yeah. They released an ASMR the other day where they were documenting how they would round up undocumented people. They would put them in chains, literally in chains, put them on the bus. I'm on a bus, on a plane. And the video is actually on Don Lemon's website. It's actually on the White House's Instagram page. And it was so gross and cruel. But the fact that they would release that to the public, is showing that their operative goal is to just show how cruel and inhumane we can be. And we can scare you into doing what we want you to do.
Because poor Europeans get off on violence. I mean, think about the everything from the Inquisition to the French Revolution to the Salem witch trials to the lynchings in Jim Crow America, because it wasn't just the South. When they don't like themselves, they kill other people.
Yeah.
And they really don't like themselves.
And that's the problem they're having with us as Black folks, because we're not giving them what they want from us.
They want us to be ashamed. Exactly. They want us to be bowed. They want us to in our own selves feel inferior to them. And we out here like, no, I'm awesome. I'm living my best life.
Everything is awesome.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
We won't protest.
This is us.
Yeah, all day. Got the print, putting it up in my new place.
Yeah, I got the shirt and the mug. And that, I think that is what is unsettling them the most. Especially some of the women MAGA people who are finding out that DEI meant them first.
Yeah.
Black folks and brown folks and maybe LGBTQ folks were the face, but the beneficiaries were them. And now they see the inherent misogyny that is a part of it. And God help the young pilot. That the pilot in the Ontario clip, she's 26 and a white woman.
Wow.
And already the DEI daggers are coming out. She was just a pilot instructor on farm, and so she did this and she DEI.
Now here's the other gag. We know that Black and brown people have always had to be twice as good to get half as much. Yep. And so when you talk about doing things on merit, a lot of these white women, you know, no offense intended, but a lot of these white women can't cut it. And so when they start trying to fire people, they can't fire, you know, Brenda, because Brenda knows where everything is, and Brenda's been doing full people's job this whole time. They can fire Kaylee though, because Kaylee wasn't doing shit.
Not Kaylee. I mean, can you imagine our current Secretary of Transportation came to prominence on a reality show on MTV? Has done
booed out here, by the way.
Nothing. Has done nothing.
It really is idiocracy. We are there.
I mean, we are there. It's like, it's what plants crave. That's where we are.
Mm-hmm.
And Terry Crews as the president. And by the way, to your point, Jermaine, instead of traveling around this, instead of doing like a barnstorming tour where you go shake hands and kiss babies and say, thank you, we're going to make America great again, blah, blah, blah. He went to the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
He went to this NASCAR thing, did a flyover on the NASCAR thing. And that costs money. Yeah. It's not free for Air Force One to pick up. It's hundreds of thousands of dollars. And he's flying all over the place, playing golf. He has played golf every weekend since he's been in office. I thought he wasn't going to stop working.
We have this rail.
What up, Jay Nice, Rattler?
That we're trying to build out here in California. And I guess because it has something to do with transportation, Sean Duffy thought he would come out and speak about it. And he was so derogatory. He was saying that he feels like the money is being mismanaged as a result of the briefing he got from Trump. And when I tell you the California freaking crowd booed him until they had to turn his mic up so he could actually be heard. Because it's like you come in throwing stones in a house that you're not even built to live in, yo. Get the hell out of here. We're out here trying to like make our lives great, and here you are just coming out here and just shitting on stuff. Get away. We know what we're doing.
That's wild.
Well, and you saw you might not have seen it, Joy. But JD Vance decided he was going to go over to Europe and castigate folks. Because he's supposed to be.
What happened?
Oh, dear Lord. So he went over and decided he was going to shit talk Europe on the issue of Ukraine and how they spend and NATO and blah, 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 blah. And if you don't do this and da, 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 and it's about time for you to learn and you need to see and such and such, such and such. And the German chancellor right after was like, so F that dude, we don't fuck with him.
No.
And Macron is pulling his own honeycomb hideout of all the EU leaders. Like
he was like telling them to embrace hate speech. all this type of stuff.
JD as a debut, and again, JD Vance was supposed to be the smart one, right?
Mm-hmm.
JD Vance actually went to an Ivy League because he could get into an Ivy League,
Mm-hmm.
not because his daddy, paid for a building at Wharton or whatever. So he and Trump and Musk are in this space where they are believing it would be one thing if they knew that they were Oz and they knew that they were full of shit. They think that America is on top. They think that the world, at least that's the rhetoric. They think they are a world leader, and China and Russia are like, look at her.
I remember seeing the video, and this was about Great Britain. They were talking to the leaders in China, and the interview was like, so how do you feel about, the United Kingdom? Do you see them as a threat?
Oh, yeah, I remember.
And the guy from China's like, we see you as a customer. We don't give a fuck about y'all. Y'all are nothing to us. You're a very small piece of land with nobody on it. Why would we care? And people really forget. Like I remember when COVID first hit, talking to a very highly educated master's degree having person that I work with, and we were talking about how China at the time had been able to relatively contain what they were doing. He goes, well, they don't have as many people as we do. The fuck you just say? And he's like, yeah, we're a big country, bruh. How many people do you think live in China?
In China.
And I said, what percentage of the world's population do you think is in America? He's like, I don't know, 20? 4.7, bruh. 4.7. We are nothing.
What do you know what we are? Because I'd like to talk about one thing we do have a clip about the Super Bowl, a little wrap-up piece that Joy shared in the chat. But I was watching this week people from all around the world, Americans losing their ish about not understanding, not liking the show. You have Chinese women doing They're Not Like Us. You have Mexican people redoing Not Like Us in bachata. You've got the entire world is embracing the message. Right now, the United States is the Drake of the world.
Yes.
We are Drake in big foam blue cowboy boots
with a BBL,
sucking on hookah, with a BBL, and the world is looking at us like,
ugh.
You're a colonizer.
What is that? Ugh.
What are you doing? Why do you have smoke coming out of bullet holes in your sweatsuit?
It was that recent. I saw
that was his show in Australia. And of course, in Australia, he's embraced because they're displacing indigenous people all over that continent country. It's crazy. And some sexy songs for you. No es bueno.
Vance literally went to the European stage and told these European dignitaries that the problem isn't China or Russia. The problem is them. That's what he literally told these people in their faces. They're their own problem.
Jay Knight has a very good point. Elon will destroy key functions in each department of the government. Then he'll come back and claim that one of his companies can provide a solution for him.
Already, Jay Nice. Already. Because he wants to shut down the International Space Station. And he said, the astronauts, they're stranded, and SpaceX could go up and get them. And the head of the ISS was like, Elon, that's a lie. They're going to go down in the capsule that's been there. That's been the plan since September. They're going to ride the capsule down because that's how we always do it. Well, F you, you're criticizing me. We need to shut down the ISS. It's the International Space Station, asshole.
So perhaps this is the reason why they were moving at such a rapid pace, because they knew that public opinion was going to switch up on them at some point.
Yeah, they had a limited amount of time to get in and wreck shop.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Well, listen, you wreck shop just in time for the special elections, please. You wreck shop just long enough, because I felt Alito and Thomas certainly don't care.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think Judge Roberts on his watch wants that. Well, there's that too.
A lot of people are waiting on us to fall. I mean, empires usually last between 200 and 300 years, and we're hitting around 250. It's about time for us to eat it.
250 during his administration, and so you're going to be spending money on bunting and red, white, and blue, and all this sort of stuff for all of that. And meanwhile, our influence is waning. Russia is looking at Trump like an idiot, and everybody else in the world is looking at us like, not like all Americans are at fault, but how did you let this happen?
Well, I think we kind of know what happened now, because that narrative is seeping out.
Oh no, we do.
Yeah,
we know what happened.
Yeah,
the world is right. How we let it happen, because generally speaking, you got Boris and some people who failed being prime minister in Britain. Think about Britain. They'll do a snap election in a heartbeat. No, we don't like you, Theresa May. We don't like you. So vote of no confidence, you're gone.
You over.
And then you got the Indian cat, and then he was gone, and now you got another one in, and it's like they don't care. Putin has been in power for 20 years now. He ain't going nowhere. But in Great Britain, they will take your ass out of 10 Downing Street. They will pull your card in a second.
So in Britain and those other countries, is racism as embedded in their soil as it is over here?
Yes,
it is. So
why
in different ways?
In different ways, okay.
They're a little bit more of a meritocracy than we are. They're open to the idea, the possibility that someone that doesn't look like them can be in charge. So it's not the same. But on the day-to-day scale, they still like people of color are murdered by the police at a rate of 4 times the white people. Same as here. Children in schools are prosecuted for minor crimes, sent to detention, in suspension, etc. Same rates, 4 to 1, 3.5 to 1 as they are here. But in some upper echelons of power and even companies, like they've done several studies where, since there's a lot of African transplants in Europe and Great Britain, if you have an African sounding name, you're 2 or 3 times less likely to get called back for a job. So it's the same shit, but there's a veneer of acceptability that they, in certain places they might, let somebody do something, but it's not widespread. It's not
how it handicaps us so much as a country as opposed to these other countries.
Well,
it handicaps us because we have such a higher percentage of minorities here. The Black percentage in the UK is like 4, whereas we're 12, 3 times as many here. And then the percentage of people of color overall is maybe under 10% for the UK, where we're pushing 45% in the United States. So the tension that comes with that diversity is different here than it is there. They don't, the reason they can do like universal healthcare and stuff in some of the other countries is because they don't have any minority population to try to keep it from.
I see.
Well, and also let's be clear, Great Britain is tiny.
Yeah, it's an island.
Great Britain is little. So even if you don't have 300 million people in Great Britain, 330, you don't have that many people. So to Joy's point, when you have a much smaller percentage, also Great Britain's psychopathy is such that we did everything ourselves. And so they didn't have 400 years or 200 years of indentured servitude to build up their country. They were a force before. They helped to transport enslaved people over here, but they didn't use them in the same way where it was like, that's a hard, tough little country to be on. It's cold as hell and rainy and shit. And it's, plus you have a lot more mixed race folks in Great Britain than you used to.
And even more so in like France and Spain and Portugal, where that Moorish influence is everywhere.
Right.
There's a whole lot of brown French people.
So it's different. And of course, like the Algerians, they're treated very poorly in France. And you can only see how France was treating Haiti to determine that there's no lack of racism in that culture, but it's not the same as here, because here we were bedrock.
Yeah.
We were
some of those attitudes actually changed during World War II and World War I, when you had the Harlem Hellfighters, and it was the greatest force that the French had ever seen. Black people coming out being crazy, being wildly successful military power. Then you had the Red Tails, you had the 6 AAA, like all these other instances. And again, you got to talk about exposure. This is their exposure to like a mass of Black people, and they're beyond excellent. Yeah. So their imagery of us is different than the lies that are told about us in our own country.
Right.
And they were grateful.
Yeah. Thank you, Black people, for saving us.
For coming in and freeing us from
they were giving out awards to the point that the United States had to say, hey, stop being nice to these Negroes, because we're going to treat them bad when they come home. We can't have y'all giving them dignity.
Right.
One of the reasons that you find that a lot of soldiers were lynched in their uniforms because they came home expecting to be treated like humans. Right. And people were mad that they even were in the military and lynched them in their uniform. But we here for the soldiers. And
one of the most tragic things, I watched the movie Race with my son Cole, who is a track runner on the track team.
Yeah.
And Jesse Owens' best friend through the rest of his life after the Olympics was the white German competitor that he beat, who respected and treated him like a man when he was forced to go into the servants' entrance at a dinner honoring him for being a 4-time gold medalist. And then he ended up to being a janitor. Like, he wasn't celebrated. He didn't turn into, Usain Bolt or who was the dude back in the 80s, Carl Lewis. He didn't turn into that. There was no celebrity notoriety about him proving that Black people were better than white people because, oops, there were plenty of Nazis in the United States.
Still are.
But I mean, like, flag wearing, walking around in swastikas on their armbands, Nazis. Just as there were in each of the countries of the European Union. In Great Britain, I mean, one of the reasons that the king's speech, his older brother, who should have been the king, his Nazi sympathies tanked him as much as marrying that divorcee. So, I mean, it's a lot. It's a complex, thorny issue. And we hear it's not even so much about race now as much as it is about fascism and power and control and sociopaths who think and believe with all their hearts that they have their finger on all of the levers of power. And because the House and Senate are being somewhat complicit and SCOTUS is being silent, there's nothing to really prevent them other than a handful of judges who are saying hell no. And, but when all of these prosecutors and DOJ are quitting, all you're left with is Trump cronies. And I am not looking forward to Kash Patel's first week in office. I'll just say that.
Yeah, he's gonna like run ramshot on just about anybody Trump tells him to run ramshot on.
Oh yeah, no, and I don't even.
This is all a mess.
Why you would allow that to be your thing? Like, what is your end game? Do you think you are going to be in this office? What do you think you're going to do at the end of a Trump presidency? What is it that do you think that he's just going to take a third term and so that you will be? He has no loyalty to anybody. He had a 92% turnover in his.
Nobody's thinking that far ahead. They're just like, I got this today, and that's all they care about. And they're going to rip and run and milk it for as much as they can before they get put out.
Well, it'll be interesting.
This is a run. This is a raid. This is a looting of the American people.
Yeah.
Because there's a timeline. It's definitive. It's going to be over.
Well.
But, will the store still be standing after they loot it is the question.
Well,
you were mentioning, Joy, earlier how you saying that a lot of foreign countries, they've always had favor with us as Black people. And I used to tell the story all the time. Every time I would pass by a Korean fried chicken place, that it was Black soldiers that taught Koreans how to fry chicken in World War II. And when they came over here, they brought those same skills that those Black soldiers gave them as a result of learning them from their mamas.
Yep.
And then they came over here and built these like little enterprises and like little businesses based on principles and, skills that we showed them. So we have always been in the mix globally.
We are always still in the mix. Yeah. I'm listening to Afro beats in Ghana and Benin, and I'm like, that's Timbaland. Like, they remix something like, I know this beat, I know this song. You know, you took it and put a little yeah across the top, but I know Timbaland when I hear it. Same thing with like K-pop. I'm a big K-pop fan, but I also know that Teddy Riley and New Jack Swing was the impetus for the second generation of K-pop from 10 years ago, and that's why it all sounds the way it does now. And they worship Michael Jackson.
Yeah, they do.
And they're wearing it's a respectful reinterpretation as opposed to cultural appropriation. And one of the reasons there's so many Asian food stores in Black neighborhoods is because of redlining, because white people didn't want Asians in their neighborhood either. But you can go, we're not going to give anything to Black people, but we'll at least give Asian person a loan to start a Chinese food place or whatever. And there were even restrictions on what they could do. It had to be a laundromat or a restaurant. They couldn't own any other type of business and put it over there in the Black community because we don't want you in the white community either. And that's why you have so many Korean fried chicken places and whatnot in Black neighborhoods.
And donut shops.
Nail shops, hair shops. And they love Black American culture so much, Joy, that them little K-pop groups are wearing your sorority symbols on their jacket.
No, I saw that. That was so wild.
I was mad at you for defending it. I was like, "Oh, Joy." You was like, "Well, he probably didn't know."
I guarantee you, he didn't know. I know the band and the company, and they get dressed. They get styled by people. And remember, you know, we know that we're big in the Greek life. We all understand and everything. But there's Black Americans that have no idea what double sigma theta is in our own country. So why would we think that some little Korean dude who doesn't even read English would think that these Greek symbols and these random numbers meant anything to some Black girl on the other side of the country, other side of the world? So, you know, they said we need a red and black motorcycle jacket, and she was like, "Say less," and probably got it off Alibaba, because I know that a lot of sorority sisters and a lot of y'all fraternity brothers too be making stuff on the down low and putting the symbols and stuff out there, and then when they got extra. Them kids weigh 125 pounds. They can wear them extra smalls that nobody bought.
They sure can.
That jacket was busting. I was like,
everybody went from, what the hell, to where can I get one?
I was like, that is nice.
I couldn't even be mad at him.
I was like, that is nice.
Another video that came out not too long after of another guy. He had on a purple sweatshirt, and the words said, "She's got me by the balls." And he didn't know what it said. It was just a purple and white sweatshirt. And so somebody in his comments on his little live said, "This shirt says she's got me by the balls." They explained. He's like, what? If I knew that, I would not wear that. Thank you for telling me. You know, so yeah. Now, what I have seen them do is straw set their hair and puff it out into an afro.
Oh,
and I'm like, yo, y'all doing the most right now, because I know it took you 4 or 5 hours to get that little tiny straw sets with all that just to get this. But you know what? You gonna sit there for it. You pay for it. It's yours. Go for it.
Yeah, it was a lot.
Mm-hmm. It always reminds me of that one Asian dude from Two Live Crew.
Oh yeah, with the busted arm.
We've been rocking with them for a long time. Yeah.
Yep. One of my frat brothers, his spades partner is Asian. And if you had your back turned to the table and listened to him talk shit, you would never know.
I know a lady like that. She talks a lot of shit. She lives in South Central, and I hate looking at her every time because I think she's a straight up sister. But she talks a lot. I mean, she's like, "I'm probably more Black than you, Jermaine." I said, "Don't say that. Don't ever say that."
Mm-hmm.
But
she's hood though. I mean, she's
you've
hood.
Seen the clips on IG of the Korean lady that's married to a Black man who's talking shit to the people in her kitchen. Come on.
I mean, and she might be more Black than I am.
But from a solidarity standpoint, if we could ever get past our desire to silo ourselves and really, as the Black Panthers are trying to do, bring together Latino, Asian, and Black as a block, white people can do nothing about it, because we really don't need them. They need us because they got nothing of their own. What they need, Fresh Kid Ice, thank you. What they need is us to give them all the flavor so they can turn around and charge people for it. If we just sort of keeping it to ourselves, bartering amongst ourselves and creating our own economies and communities, it's not even about having banks and whatnot. It's about recognizing I can do for you, you can do for her, she can do for me, and creating a cycle that is independent of their capitalist entity, collapsing in 5 years.
But the problem with that, Joy, is that these Latin cultures, different ones, they have their own white people, if you will.
That's the problem.
That's the problem. So if we
and
can't
all the
fix-
Asian countries shit on each other. Like the Japanese don't like the Koreans, the Koreans don't like Chinese, Chinese don't like the Philippines, all of that. So it's always going to be like the book Babel shares a name only, but that idea of everybody doing their own thing. If we could all come together on a common enemy, kind of like what was it, Independence Day, and recognize that the actual aliens are Caucasian, we could do some things. But I don't think it's impossible. I think it's just not in the realm of most people's understanding that people of color represent 80 to 85% of the world.
Right.
Asians alone is 63%. You add in all the African and everybody else, and we are the global majority is melanated. And if we do melanated, as a block, we are unstoppable.
Well, and it speaks to the book cast and
Isabel
that
Wilkerson.
stratification is a critical part of maintaining it.
Yeah.
And so, it's harder for a lot of people to step out of that notion. Yeah. Because to step out of that notion, especially if you are non-melanated, to step out of that notion and align yourselves with someone that you have been taught and perceives to be as alien, you're saying, I'm abandoning the group that has held me.
Yeah.
And I'm putting my trust in a group that group that has held me has treated like crap.
Yeah.
And so is there an expectation that I will actually be embraced? Is there an actual expectation I will be protected? And that's a tough thing.
Because you might not be.
You might not be. And so, I'm not saying it's an easy thing. Jermaine and I talked about this last week. There's a lot to unpack and a lot to try to sort out as far as coming up with some solutions. And so it's not going to be easy. It might be easier when some of these rural people whose hospitals have shut down, or when infant mortality spikes, and the assistance, you don't call it welfare, you call it assistance, when your baby is crying because your baby doesn't have any formula because you aren't getting the supplement that you used to get in order to provide that formula for him, or the farmer that was depending on the subsidy to get rid of these crops, knowing that they were going to be used somewhere, and the fields are just lying fallow because there's no market for their goods anymore, because Canada doesn't want to buy anything from a Trump supporting state because of the way Trump is doing things. People who were willing to give him the benefit of the doubt are starting to feel the pain.
Yeah, the crack.
And people who said, well, I voted for him because he said the groceries were coming down, when the groceries aren't coming down and you're taking $100 or more out of people's bank accounts directly because the subsidy that Alabamans were getting on their utility bills has been terminated. And so if you got that subsidy last month and Elon said the subsidy's gone, they are going into their bank account and finding hundreds of dollars being snatched back. Nobody likes that. And then people are going to make the connection in their head. Well, wait a minute. Did they do that because because Elon Felon has my bank account information from that office that he raided? And people are going to start really.
And he's keeping the money. Please believe
that. And somebody has told these people they're going to be getting $5,000 reimbursements because of all the money that's being saved. From the same bank account that those severance packages were written out of. That's what I wanted to say. You made a point.
To sell you.
Correct. You made a point, Joy, about mindless drones and the workforce. Watch Severance. If you have not watched Severance, the second season is really kind of coming, and people are wildly speculating. And there's a whole new thing about the whole purpose of the Severed is not only to do what Lumen wants them to do, but also to create a passive class of workers from the Severed. So when the outies are dead and the innies, which are the Severed, they don't have the capacity to be as discerning as the outies because their whole memories are predicated on the any world, which is much more gated off and cordoned off. So they're
just called Severance.
Severance on Apple.
Oh, nice.
It's a really, really intriguing show.
I'll see if I can find a
time for
jumper.
all this TV, Tom?
Huh?
Where do you find time for all this TV? Like, I'm having to like make very manicured decisions as to what I can watch.
I turn it on when I'm doing other work. When you work a
Okay.
lot, when you're working 18 hours a day, you can put stuff on in the background. Wait, somebody. Oh, that was Chan. Yeah, it would be smart, but they're not going to write that.
They're not going to do it.
They're not.
No, you can't say you're saving money out of the budget and then spend $3 trillion on money that you took out of the budget because you just fired 1,000 or whatever IRS workers who were going through the thing. I mean,
that money was supposed to go to the tax cuts for the billionaires anyway, so make it make sense.
There is no.
It's a big scam. It's just I think they're just trying to shore up some support for the midterms, because if you dangle something like that in people's faces who only respond to STEMI checks.
Right.
Well, if you're doing it for the midterms, you got to wait too long.
Yeah.
Because you're gonna do if you're doing it for the midterms, you want to cut them checks in September.
And who are you gonna get to cut the checks? Because you done fired all these IRS people.
Well, I mean,
it's a lot. It's all bullshit. You did say after dark, right?
Yeah, no, this is on the darkness of the Africanness.
All right.
Well, not mindless. There were a lot of smart people making those atomic bombs, but
the idea that it was a good idea was
correct.
Supported by some mindless people who just like to believe what they want to believe, And so I think the cult is coming apart. I think the cult of personality that Trump has built up, people are starting to smell what's cooking, which is his lard ass. And I believe that there will be some calving off of different factions of people from that base, so that they don't stand a chance. Hopefully it'll be powerful enough that the Republican Party just won't be able to put a candidate up that has any sort of support for 2028. But to your point, we won't even make it to 2026 if we don't start doing some stuff now. So hopefully people will vote abso-fucking-lutely not on all of these Republican candidates over the next special elections.
That would help.
The real I say death knell would be if you see some change in government in Texas. If Abbott gets put out the next time around, that's a killer right there.
Well, and Abbott's in a wheelchair.
So if he gets rolled out to the next one, that'll be great.
I was more so referring to the fact that the accommodation is a part of the leftist culture. It's not something that the right really embraces. Hey, you turned it right into the verb. You cold-blooded, Joy. Cold-blooded in my dictionary. So,
dictionary book.
To explain how you look. So, I want to thank folks who have joined us. We love the way it takes us a little time. It usually clicks about the 5 o'clock hour at our side. So the 8 o'clock hour is when we get kind of like a resurgence of folks to kind of push in and come in. And we thank you. We're still looking for, the earth is trying to kill him. Listen, we still love our Super Sharpies. Phil Harrison doing a lot of lifting today. Thank you, Phil, for coming in.
Thanks, Phil. I saw your name a whole lot.
I mean, a whole lot. Jay Nice up in here throwing some Rattler venom around. Thank you. We really appreciate that. Of course, Chan, who came in with one paragraph comment this time. That's really low for you, Chan.
The ever-present Anthony Turner.
And of course, Anthony Turner. We love the sharp. Bob Breeden in the house. We love this community that we are creating. We are going to be here. We are going to be working with you week after week, week in and week out. And so just please invite a friend. I'm asking for you to cop boy. Instead of boycott, I want you to flip it and bring people to the show. You just bring one. If every person who's watching now said, listen, y'all, come on and watch this show with me next week. So let's cop boy it.
Yes.
Let's
bring each one bring one.
Each one bring one. and let's
And
build
just
the
share the other shows, like the show from tonight. It's already on YouTube because we're broadcasting live there. Just hit the little ellipsis and share it to somebody. Say, y'all need to check this out.
Yeah, check this out. Get them numbers up.
Yeah.
And we do have the capacity for merch. If y'all say, hey, I'd love a piece of merch, let a brother know. We got merch.
We'll hook you up a sweatshirt.
I mean, listen, just like Nikki Free made her sweatshirts and posters that, we got the Steel Sharp and Steel logo. We can put that on a mug. We can do a whole bunch of stuff.
Yeah.
So let us nizzo. Do y'all have anything else?
Please watch the NAACP Awards this weekend. Dion Cole is hosting Saturday Night Live from the Pasadena Civic Auditorium.
You gonna be there? Are you gonna be in the house?
I'm helping out with it. It's gonna be really good. Dion Cole is hosting. He's gonna be really funny after how
Yeah, he is funny.
Yeah, they've been giving out awards all week, so we've been seeing Black excellence do its thing.
Wonderful.
Blue Ivy won something, y'all.
Oh,
wow, okay.
He did. So
like Blue
I'm
Ivy.
really excited.
He's growing up so well. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So
Is
check it out
it
this
for
Saturday.
Mufasa? Or is it for Cowboy Carter? For Mufasa, or I think Suri.
Exactly.
Rumi
The animation
was on
she
Cowboy
did.
Carter.
What did she do? Was it Mufasa in the animation?
Yeah, Mufasa.
Yeah,
She did
Mufasa,
Kiara.
exactly. Yeah.
I thought she was actually very good in Mufasa.
Yeah.
To be honest,
I think she's a better actress than her mom.
She is.
Yeah.
she's a much better actress than Sorry, Beyonce, you're a superstar. You're amazing.
Right. You can let her have it.
You do what you do.
Right.
She's a better actor than you. I'm just putting it out there. Watch Nickel Boys.
Yes.
Watch Wild Robot.
Watch Captain America.
I've already seen it twice.
Mm.
I saw it on opening day, and then I took my son to see it.
I haven't seen it yet. I was out of town, but I'm gonna try and catch it this weekend.
Please see it. It is a worthy addition. People who are listening to the critics, don't listen to the critics. Anthony Mackie he does a great job. It is more along the lines of Winter Soldier. It is not a laugh a minute show. Like, it's not Iron Man or Ant-Man. Or Love and Thunder, thankfully. It's not big on the Anthony Turner says 5. I don't know what those are. What is that?
5 Wakandas.
Is that what that 5
Yeah.
Wakandas? 5? Oh, okay. It's a political story. It's a political thriller. I call it MCUtion Impossible. Think of it that way. It's more like Mission Impossible. It's not like Iron Man. It's much more a political thriller. And Anthony Mackie, for those of you who are casting aspersions as to whether or not he'd be able to inherit the mantle of Captain America, bro man kicks ass. The Wakanda suit helps. The jetpack helps. He's working that shield. There is nothing that Chris Evans did on camera that Anthony Mackie has not done in terms of that shield and the close combat melee fighting. Cool. He has grown into it, and his Joaquin Torres, his new Falcon, they are kicking ass. The action sequences are dynamic. Harrison Ford is long in the tooth, and he never needs to take his shirt off on camera ever again. But it's an enjoyable movie and well worth the cost of admission. And it had the second highest gross an opening weekend of any of the Captain America movies, and Captain America Civil War isn't even really a Captain America movie. It's
right.
It's light. So technically...
And Captain America Civil War was the introduction of Black Panther.
Correct. Mm-hmm. But you had 15 on-camera heroes. Anthony Mackie has himself and Falcon. And to a lesser extent, Sabra, who is an Israeli superhero that they kind of introduced but don't name drop her. So it's really, really good. And Isaiah Bradley, the Black Captain America, has a critical role. It's really, really good. Not the best villain in the world, but
yes.
Go see it. Go see it. And with that, I have one thing I wanted to play because it's Black History Month, and I want to end on a very positive note. This is a vocalist who is absolutely amazing. The way his melisma runs and all of this sort of stuff, he is absolutely astonishing. And so I'd like to close the show on this. And so I will say, I'm Tom Cunningham.
I'm Jermaine Taylor.
And I'm Yafrin Poma.
Yes, you are. And this is Steel Sharpens Steel. Listen to this and enjoy.
That's 100. Anybody ever came to work feeling like the burdens of the world was the enemy? Edgy, but don't say a word. Come from 10 backwards and you breathe. Who are you? You that one, and be a fan of yourself and don't be ashamed of. Who are you? Welcome to me. Welcome to the movie of me. As I'm making history, living out my story. Welcome to the movie of me. As I'm living out my best, God, thank you for my rest. Welcome to the movie of me. Yeah. Welcome to the movie of me. As I'm doing what I do, Anybody came home from work, didn't want to do it, but you had to scream it out loud. From 10 backwards and you breathe.
Yo, I want them on my playlist.
Yeah.
Listen. So his runs are so effortless.
Do you know who he is? That's Karen Clark Shear's cousin. He's a cousin to the Clark sisters. That's J Moss.
So there you go. Yeah, he's and he had a song that actually played on the show when it first. This is like a year and a half ago. He did basically a combination. There was a female drummer, the Pocket Queen, and then so she laid down the rhythm, and then he had another guy who was on keys, and he sang the song.
Yeah.
And I was just like, wow. But this is the newest drop, and it just came out like within this week. And when I heard it, I was just like, nope, I got it, because when he does his little that's my dude. So here we go. Thank you, Sharpies, for being with us on the show. We will see you next week, and goodbye.